Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavala Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Janavala Girivaradari. Jasoda Nandana Rajana Nandana. Jasoda Nandana Rajana Nandana. Ramunati Vanachari. Yamunati Vanachari. Jaya Raja Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Givarajari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Givarajari. Rasoda Nandana Brajana Ranjana. Jasoda Nandana Brajana Ranjana. Ramunati Ravanachari. Ramunati Ravanachari. Jaya Raja Madhava Kunja. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 4, text 21. So Aham Tad Darshandalada Viyogarti Yuta Prabho Kamishe Jaitam Tasha Vadyasham Mandalam Soaham Tadarshanan Lada Viyogarti Yuta Prabho Kamishe Daititam Tasha Vadyasham Mandalam Soham Tadarshana Hlada Viyogarti Yuta Prabhu. Kama Shedai Tim Tasha. Vadyashamandalam. Soham Tadashan Lada. Viyogarti Yuta Prabhu. Kama Shedai Tam Tasha. Vadyashamandalam.
Tadashanalada.
Soham Tadashan Lada.
Prabhu.
Viyogarti Yuta Prabhu.
Vishedaitam tasya.
Kaima Shedaitam Tasha.
Aman.
Vadyashamandalam.
Soham Tadarshana
Soham Tadarshala
Yogarti Yuta Prabhu
Yogarti Yuta Prabhu.
Sedaitam Tasya
Kamishedaitam Tasha.
Darshama Mandalam
Vadyashamandalam.
Soham tadarshana
Soham Tadarshana
Yogarti Yuta Prabhu.
Yogarti Yuta Prabhu.
Amishe dayatam tasya.
Kamishedaitam Tasha.
Ashrama mandalam.
Vadyashamandalam.
Soham tadarshana
Soham Tadarshana
Yogarti Yuta Prabhu.
Viyogarti Yuta Prabhu.
Amishe dayatam tasya.
Kamishedaitam Tasha.
Padarashrama mandalam.
Vadyashamandalam.
Soham tadarshana lada.
Soham Tadarshana
Yuta Prabhu.
Viyogarti Yuta Prabhu.
Amishe dayatam tasya.
Kamishedaitam Tasha.
Shrama mandalam.
Vadyashamandalam.
Soham tadarshana lada.
Soham Tadarshana
Yogarti Yuta Prabhu.
Viyogarti Yuta Prabhu.
Amishe dayatam tasya.
Kamishedaitam Tasha.
Padarashrama mandalam.
Vadyashamandalam. Everyone chant it. Chant words, synonyms. Sa aham. Thus myself. Tat his. Darshana audience. Alada pleasure. Viyoga without that. Arti yuta afflicted by distress. Prabhu, my dear sir. Gamishe shall go. Daitam, so instructed. Tasha, his. Vadyasham, Vadyasham in the Himalayas. Mandalam, association. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. My dear Vidura, now I am mad for want of the pleasure of seeing him. And just to mitigate this, I am now proceeding to Bhadarak Ashram in the Himalayas for association, if I have been instructed by him. A pure devotee of the Lord of the standard of Uddhava constantly associates with the Lord in the double perception of simultaneous separation and meeting. The pure devotee is not for a moment engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. Execution of the Lord's service is the main occupation of the pure devotee. Uddhava's separation from the Lord was unbearable, and therefore he started to Bhadarak Ashram in obedience to the Lord's order. And because the order of the Lord and the Lord himself are identical, as long as one is engaged in the execution of the order of the Lord, there is no factual separation from him. Oh yeah, this is real nice verse. They were talking about this. I believe it's Radhanath Swami. I listened to a couple of classes on it. One was Ramapad Swami, and the other one was so. Anyways, he was making this point that he was going to Bhadarak Ashram to follow the instructions of the Lord, because the instructions of Krishna and Krishna himself and his association are non-different. So he followed Krishna because he could not bear separation from Krishna. So he was sitting, he was there where just before Krishna left this mortal world. And Maitreya just happened to be there. Maitreya just happened to come for the darshan too. So he got to hear what Krishna spoke to Uddhava, and what they were saying. Radhanath Swami, he mentioned this many times, is that Krishna spoke the Uddhava Gita to Uddhava. So I believe that's in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this Uddhava Gita and the Lord's instruction of was a mystic yoga, and so it's just for the benefit of Vidura, Uddhava, and for Maitreya. So he was also saying, now Uddhava is going to Bhadarak Ashram, and Maitreya is a disciple of Parashara, who was the father of Vyasadeva, and Uddhava is also the son of Srila Vyasadeva. So in the next verse, actually, Prabhupada's going to be mentioning that Uddhava would get the association of Nara, Narayan, Rishis. So I wanted to look that up, because what's the actual relationship of Nara, Narayan, Rishis? They're the same identity, or they're, I'm going to look up the dual incarnations of the Lord. So yeah, I want to look that up. It's not the same as Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, it's Krishna and Balaram. But yeah, the Nara, Narayan, Rishis. Actually, yeah, you ever Krishna and Arjuna, the Nara and Narayan Rishis? Yeah, I'm not sure they were on the planet at the same time. Yeah, well, that's interesting too. They're like a partial expansion, or they're Krishna and Arjuna. So that's a good significance then. Yeah, the Krishna and Arjuna. And so Uddhava actually was mentioned before earlier too in some of these classes, that Uddhava is being instructed to go to Bhadarak Ashram. So he'll associate with devotees there, you know, the disciples of Srila Vyasadeva, and what Prabhupada's mentioning tomorrow, the Narayan Rishis. It's a very holy spot. Many places of pilgrimage, you have to climb through the Himalayas to get there. You know, so a devotee was telling me that they had just gone to India, and he went to Bhadarak Ashram, and they chanted one round there, and he said it was like really pretty heavy. And so they what they were saying is that there's naturally a friendship between Maitreya Rishi and Uddhava, because Uddhava is the son of Srila Vyasadeva, and Maitreya is the disciple of Parashara, who is the father of Vyasadeva. So of course he has some association with them, and so that's very intimate. So he was also saying how Uddhava, he's a pure devotee of a very, very high standard. And saying, and Maitreya Rishi, he's also a great soul, but not as high as a standard of devotional service as Uddhava. Jai Gora Nitai Ki Jai. And so that was the whole thing, is that how did Vidura meet Maitreya Rishi, and what did Maitreya Rishi speak? And Vidura has been away from Mathura for quite some time. I was listening to a lecture, and I want to back it up a little bit. Oh yeah, you have a question?
I looked up who Narayan Rishi is, and Mridanga Prabhu is right. It was Arjuna is an empowered incarnation of Narayan. So Nara is Arjuna, and Narayan is Krishna.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's great. It was good. Because what was it? Krishna, Arjuna was asking Krishna, how is it that you spoke this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god some 20 million years ago, right? And that's what Prabhupada was saying, is that Krishna told Arjuna that he was there too, but in another capacity. And that we don't remember because we change our bodies. Now, Krishna, he remembers everything because he doesn't change his body. He's eternal, all knowledgeable, super conscious, knows everything everywhere. So they're saying that Krishna is so powerful, he can, and he does, he winds up the entire material cosmos, the entire Mahatattva, millions of universes. So it's so powerful. And yet he's so, orchestrated so beautifully. So there's one thing they were talking about is Krishna's Nitya Leela, is that when his pastimes, they end on one planet, then this pastime, it begins on another planet. Prabhupada was calling it the Transcendental Roadshow, saying it's eternal pastimes, it's Nitya Leela. So let's see, so what are we, oh, so this goes. So that was the question, and it was and what was the subject matter that Maitreya had spoken to Vidura, and so this is what we're going to be coming up. Basically, it's devotional service. Kapila Muni, he'll be explaining to his mother Devahuti, basically all about devotional service and the effects of devotional service and how to engage in devotional service properly. Great. A lot of instructions on the science of devotional service, and it also explains the mystic process of understanding the metaphysics, the analytical study of material nature. And that's just to understand how we're not the material body, and that everything is temporary in the material world, and that the real place is to go back home, back to God, and achieve mukti or liberation. And the cycle of birth and death. There's another chapter, it's called Adverse Fruitive Activities. It was adverse reactions to the fruitive activities. Everything was just, what was it? It was saying, I heard this one statement before, that when we're born, we're given this, we nurse from our mother's breast, and then we get a little bit older, we find out we just get an old big rubber nipple, right? You get the rubber one now, right? And that life's just been one big tough, what, right? And so basically that's pretty much what the adverse fruitive activities is explaining. We go to school, there's inebrities and everything. The bees, they're trying to enjoy the honey, enjoy the nectar, and the other bees are biting them, right? So it's just like that. You go to school, okay, great. It's like, it doesn't really matter, what you did. If you didn't do it, if you're just in the whole group of collective, you're guilty too, There's a school bully, you got the principal and new needs. Man, I had this one school, they didn't even let us get a drink of water, even go to the bathroom. They're running that place like a prison. But I can understand, because there's a lot of drugs in the area. There's a lot of murders in the park down the street at Stonehurst. So, but I was always wondering, it's like, God, what's with these people? What is wrong with everybody? And that's just it. They're all karmis, and they don't know what to do, what's not to be done. They're what was it? This was something, it was called Against School. And if I can remember what this guy's name is, he started talking about, previously homeschooling was the norm, but then like children were forced to go to school, and they actually had soldiers that actually were armed with guns to make sure that children went to school, right? So that was the early days. It's a signet and conant, your testing materials, the remember, the testing materials, and at the bottom they have signet and conant companies. They were always, yeah, they were always pretty much involved in this. And the whole idea was to train people to become mechanized, dumb everybody down. Everybody gets the same education, regarding, disregarding specific individual, certain individuals have a higher IQ than others, and people might get it faster than others, but everybody's going to get the same education. You're going to think the same. You're going to do the same. You're going to act the same. You're going to take a bolt. You're going to turn the bolt, and then another thing comes in front of you on the conveyor line. You're going to turn the bolt. Right. This is what you're being educated for, being taken off of the farms. Prabhupada was saying, what can you eat? A firestone. They're no longer growing Malaysia sandalwood, but they're growing rubber trees. So I said, what can you do with rubber trees? Can you eat firestone? Right. So they're all unnecessary engagements. So what is that? Ugra karma. Unnecessary engagements, things that we don't really need for the necessities of life. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that he provides all the necessities of life. All you have to do is just surrender to Krishna, follow the instructions of the spiritual master, and just study Bhagavad Gita. Study and know Bhagavad Gita as it is, not some armchair speculator, commentator on Bhagavad Gita that actually it's a lot allegorical and it actually really means this, and you surrender to the spirit within Krishna, right? That, but so Krishna was saying, Prabhupada was saying, this is ridiculous. There's no difference between Krishna's within and without. So what is this? If you surrender to the Krishna within, the spirit within, Krishna is all spirit, like that. So it's basically a process of clarification. A lot of people who come to Krishna consciousness with some sort of idea about meditation or some sort of misconception about spiritual life, or exactly what the goal of yoga or meditation is. Become liberated. What liberation actually is. Liberation, basically, we're on the Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, no Kochati, no Santati. So we actually begin on the spiritual platform. So this is actually liberation. Liberation from the material entanglement, from material activities, and the further accumulation of adverse karma. Right. So what is it say that when the baby is born, probably, the baby, he cries, he wants something, but they think he wants something else, right? So they give him something else. It's not exactly really what he really wanted, So that's pretty much. And then at the end of his life, he has to go to school again. He's been reincarnated again. He's saying Einstein, Prabhupada was saying Einstein's now going to have to start in the first grade too, just like everyone else, right? It's not like he's going to be a big, giant, big brain physicist. Who knows? He might not even have a big brain in his next life, He continues to carry, the physicist, scientific IQ like that. So you have to start all over again. So again, you go back to school. In fact, there was a record. It was called "The Crime of the Century" by Supertramp. That's pretty much what it's about. You gotta go back to school, then you get a job, get married, and have children, and you get old and you die. And what Kapila Dev is saying is that you go to hell as before. So basically, the principles that he's talking about is like earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. So Krishna's 8 material energies. Krishna's 8 separated material energies. And then there's the 3 modes of material nature, right? There's the eternal time factor, which consists of a 3-fold function of past, present, and future. So he's counting the 3 modes of material nature as 3, and the eternal time factor is 1, right? The 8 material elements. So let's see, we have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, and then another 10, which makes 22, which is the subtle sense objects and the gross sense objects. So like the subtle sense objects within the mind, contemplating the objects of the senses, the subtle sense objects, right? And then the actual central stimuli, right? So there's the senses, the objects of the senses, and the subtle sense objects. And the spiritual soul and super soul and pradhan, the totality, right? The totality of manifestation and unmanifestation, right? So in this way, the analytical study of metaphysics is described. And my favorite is going to be explained that. We went into a lot of detail about that in the universal form. We heard about the universal form from various different perspectives. The different planets, and now there's Talalokas. We heard it was described by Brahma, and who else was describing it? There was quite a few chapters on it. Yeah, Sukadeva Goswami. He was explaining. Yeah, there's quite a few chapters on it. And we heard it like kind of pretty much in different ways, but they're all very uniform. They all corresponded, and that was the whole idea, is to become purified by hearing about or meditating on a more of a personal conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in form of the Vrat Rupa, the universal form, rather than a formless form, in Krishna's unmanifested form. Maharaj was mentioning this. He was saying an unmanifested form, a form of unmanifestation. This is also a feature of Krishna, is Brahman, or the subtle form of all existence, or subtle form of all Krishna's separated material energies. And so let's see, something about my tray. Oh yeah, and that's what he was talking about. I wanted to back the tape up because I didn't think Vidura was away from Mathura for 34 years, but I think he was saying he was away from 3 or 4 years away from Mathura. 3 or 4 years would be a long time. I wanted to back it up because I wanted to specifically hear that. But he didn't know that a battle of Kurukshetra had already taken place yet or not either. He was just on pilgrimage, right? And Vidura, he left Hastinapur, he hung his bow on the door, and he left without any regrets. He knows that they're really tripping. There's some real negative vibes here, they're not in their right minds. They're just not thinking straight, thinking clearly. Duryodhana, he was bent on destruction. That's what Prabhupada was saying, is that this was the downfall of the Kurus, is that this was their karma activities to have a kingdom had been exhausted, and now they're going to be removed. So this is the whole. Plus, you can't act like that. I think that nothing's going to happen to you. There's going to be karma involved in. They were harassing pure devotees of the Lord, like Arjuna and Mother Kunti, and Yudhisthira, trying to kill him. And they were, the Pandavas, they were being really pretty quite humble in the respect they're saying, well, just give us some little villages. We don't have to have a big kingdom. How about just these simple little villages over here? And Duryodhana said, I wouldn't even give them the space of the pin of a needle. And he's going, no, wait, well, I guess the whole thing started. Dhritarashtra, he wanted a kingdom for his sons. And so Duryodhana, he was right in line with that. Duryodhana, what is it? Duryodhana is mentioned as evil-minded in the Bhagavad Gita. Duryodhana, your evil-minded son. Your sons, what are your sons and the sons of Pandu doing? Jai Gora Nitai Ki Jai. So yeah, they sent Sanjaya to the Kurus, with the message, they wanted to negotiate peace, and they had a plan to try to kidnap Krishna. So they're thinking that Krishna is the source of the Pandavas' victory. So if we get Krishna on our side, we'll just have to capture Krishna. That's when Krishna exhibited a universal form. The universal form that Krishna shows to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita is a form that no one has ever seen before. But he did show a universal form, being four-armed Narayana, four-armed Vishnu, but not the same one that Arjuna saw. So, yeah. Oh, you have a question statement?
Yeah, would you be able to speak about this point of when we execute the order, of Krishna, then there's no separation?
Yeah, because that was the whole thing that Uddhava was, he was saying, I'm going to Bhadarak Ashram because I'm feeling ecstasy, because I'm feeling the association of Krishna. So yeah, it's Krishna's subtle spiritual energies with his association. We're associating with Krishna's words, his instructions of Bhagavad Gita. We're hearing about his activities in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's narrated by his pure devotees and the activities of his pure devotees. So it's although that it may not appear that Krishna is present before us or tangible to our present senses. Prabhupada was just saying this, that Krishna is Adhokshaja. He's not knowable by the external blunt material senses, right? But you can feel his presence, when we're tasting prasadam, when we're thinking about Krishna, and we're thinking about how this is the deity's mercy, right? This is non-different from Krishna. So also the same thing with the gopis. This is one thing that Uddhava had to experience. He came to Vrindavan with a note from Krishna, right? And in fact, that they were talking about this one. They saw a golden chariot. Uddhava came back to Vrindavan in a golden chariot. So they're thinking, oh, Akura brought Krishna back. They're going, we're going to beat Akura up for taking Krishna away in the first place. And then when they saw Uddhava, they thought he was Krishna. Because Uddhava, he always wore clothing that Krishna wore. He always had prasadam. And all of his jewels were always the jewels that only Krishna wore, right? So, they saw somebody with Krishna's flower garland, Krishna's jewels, Krishna's clothes. They thought this was Krishna's features resemble Krishna, right? And so Uddhava was able to understand the caliber, the pure devotion of the gopis in their mood of separation. He brings a note and he reads the note to him, and all of a sudden they're going into ecstasy and trance, and they're talking to a bumblebee. They think that bumblebee's the messenger from Krishna. Like that, right? So that's the point right there. Bob, I was saying that just like the fire, if you take the iron rod and put the iron rod in the fire, the iron rod will become red hot. Whatever you touch it to will burst into flames, right? So by associating, staying within the Krishna's association through service and through hearing his words and words about and from his devotees and engaging in our sadhana bhakti, then we are associated with Krishna, and then we're taking on Krishna's qualities. So then whatever we touch will also become Krishnaized. Like that, wherever we go, whoever we meet, we remind them of Krishna. They want to know what this is about. We give them a mantra card, invite them to the Sunday feast, give them a book stack. Right. So that's and it's a specific form of the Lord too, regarding relationship with Krishna and separation. I think it's in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, or is there talking about like the different Shaktis of the Lord, Helena Shakti, Sambit. Let's see, Haladini, Saladini, and Sambit potencies. Right. Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it too. Because there are also the potencies that manifest the spiritual world, the material world, and the specific spiritual material qualities. They, I believe, originally began with Radharani. Right, Radharani, she manifests the internal potency, the spiritual planets. I believe that's was it Halandini, Saladini, and Samvit. I think Samvit is actually like the manifestation that becomes Mahamaya or Prakriti, becomes nature. Prakriti, she's the consort of Lord Shiva, Parvati. Parvati, Mahamaya. So in this way, we're actually really not separated from Krishna, although it may appear to be, because Krishna is not tangible to the material senses of mind. But when we purify our senses of mind and we understand just exactly what, we're not understanding nadi, not this, not that, or, the silence in the still moonlit night, you know what I mean? But we're receiving something subtle like that, but it's a manifestation of Krishna under the tree, playing his flute, a moonlit night, attracting the minds of the conditioned souls to come into his service, come engage in a rasa lila. That's one thing that they were talking about too in these classes, is that in Rasa Leela, all of a sudden at one point, right, Radharani and the gopis, they're thinking, wow, we're the most fortunate women in the universe. This is ecstatic. He actually used the comment, you can't get any better than this, right? We're with Krishna, we're the Rasa Leela, right? And so Krishna, he understood what their mood and mentality was. It changed, it flipped. So Krishna, he became, who is it? He left their association, or they couldn't find him, right? They looked all over for him, right? And in fact, they came across Narayan. Oh, Mr. Narayan, can you please tell me where Krishna went? Right? Here's Narayan. Narayan is the worshipful deity. They always think it's Narayan that always saves Krishna, right? But they're saying, oh, Mr. Narayan, can you tell us where Krishna is? We're just simply attracted to Krishna. We're trying to find Krishna. So yeah, so that could be our mood, engaged, buddhi yogam tam, engage our intelligence. Those are Tesham Sata Yuktanam Bratstapri Purvanam. Those who are devoted, those are constantly devoted and worshiping with love. I give the opportunity, I give the intelligence by which to come to me. So, we just apply it, and continue thinking about Krishna and our relationship with Krishna in that way, through our devotional service, through studies, through following instruction of a spiritual master, like that, that we're automatically, mukti, like Maharaj was saying last week, mukti is there to serve the devotees. The devotees, they're no longer interested in economic development or religiosity, or sense gratification. They're just interested in hoiki apatiyata abilasunyam, right? They're giving the meaning of abilasunyam with no motive or no other interpretation, right? No material motive, just for the sake of just engaging in devotional service. Yeah. So does that answer your question on that? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments, or we can end class there? Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam class ki jai.